we are finding over time that this is stop and go kind of method. We haven't got a permanent procedures that to be sustained. So we need to make sure that the economic regulator is in place and is doing his work. And further to make sure the economic regulator regulates even government agencies, not only stakeholders or commercial enterprises in the port system, but also government agencies as functions in the port. Besides doing that, we shall be moving backward and forward, and then at the end of the day, we shall be saying, oh, nothing is working, when the system is not working.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's another reason why we have a huge number of cargoes that have been left uncleared at the ports. Why is it so difficult to get this cleared? Is it because of that interagency collaboration that really does not exist?
Well, not necessarily, because within the port system and the chain, the delivery chain of cargo in the port, there is a function for every organization. For example, the terminal operator is responsible for cargo storage and delivery. The shipping companies are responsible for discharging the cargo. There must be a kind of strategic alliance between all these players. Strategic in the sense that what you don't do affects my work. Within the chain, you find that customs, the terminal operators, the port authorities, and other players are not synchronized. They probably need what we call a port community working system.
But then that's what the Ports Consultative Council is supposed to do.
Exactly. And that is what they are doing, bringing together all these players to know the important and strategic point they have to come in. Over time, you find this moving and working, then you'll find that some agency would like to say, we have a role, we have to come in. Then it becomes rather very spurious. So what we need is a continuous monitoring of the system. And monitoring is key to sustain any system you set up from the perspective of, for example, the ship owners, from the terminal operator, even the port authority. And I must say the port authority, within recent time, are trying to grapple with these issues. That is why they are calling for a review of the port concessioning agreement to see where they can fine-tune the demands and the responsibility in it. And we need to do that. We need to continue to examine our structures. Don't forget that the port is a global infrastructure that services our international trade. And that is key to getting the economy moving. Without the port system working effectively, the economy will continue to carry baggage unnecessary in terms of cost, in terms of delay, in terms of imperfections, in terms of lack of adequate service delivery that makes us not competitive in the region. And that is key, that no matter much economic recovery we make, without having a system that would deliver on the quality that is required within the port system, we might have to go back.
But then you will also agree with me, as we try to wind down this conversation, that a lot more needs to be done willingly, not to give the impression that we want to achieve this, but then you hold your fingers, cross your fingers and say, but only if you give this to us. So it's almost like, you know, key stakeholders are not willing to go all the way to ensure that there's transparency and there's accountability. Now, we know that the Association of African Maritime Administrators are having a conference in Nigeria, and that's some of the issues that they're going to be looking at, having a synergy and trying to utilize the open seas as much as possible. Like you said, the ports are the global,
it's a global arena.
Global arena, and is the fastest way to get your goods and services into the country anyways.
Absolutely.
But then in the short term, how can players work together to ensure that this is effectively achieved?
Well, let us start from the perspective that maritime is a global service. And that is key. And that is why we see the AMA conference are very strategic to dealing with issues that have been brought up. The issue of coordination, cooperation, collaboration within the region is very key. If you look at Africa, particularly Nigeria that has the vast resources to provide the leadership in this area, we need to be thinking that apart from the AMA, which is basically focused on maritime administration, we have to look at Primoca, for instance, that looks at West African port administration. We have to have a continual dialogue that brings to the fore the issues that have been addressed. Don't forget that 60% of the economy of West and Central Africa is domiciled in Nigeria. And the leadership will be provided by Nigeria. Having said that, Nigeria also provides a corridor for more than 6 landlocked countries. And that's a huge responsibility and a huge opportunity also for us to develop. And after all, the economy of a nation depends solely on how much the stakeholders are engaged with government. We need to have a more robust dialogue, a more robust engagement between government and the stakeholders. Initiative coming from the stakeholders, correctness coming from government. Political correctness is key. You can call it political will, but there must be political correctness within this framework that we are doing things, not only to provide a platform for political, if you like, solutions, but for economic solutions. This is what we need to do in Nigeria, and Nigeria has the capacity to achieve that.
Otumba Kunle Folarin, Chairman, Ports Consultative Council, thank you so much for coming on the program today and sharing your perspectives with us.
Thank you.
Well, Business Morning continues in just a moment. Stay with us.